Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are your hosts. Movie Club is the show where we pick a movie and discuss it every week, just like a book club. On today's show, we are covering the classic Italian drama, Bicycle Thieves. Our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 1948, Bicycle Thieves was directed by Vittorio De Sica and stars Lamberto Maggiorani, Enzo Staiola, and Leonela Carrel. Sorry if there's any mispronunciation of those names. In post-war Italy, a working-class man's bicycle is stolen, endangering his efforts to find work. He and his son then set out to find it. It is currently ranked 125 on IMDb's Top 250 and currently has a 4.3 out of 5 on Letterboxd and is ranked number 125 on its Top 250. It was nominated for one Oscar for Best Writing and did win an honorary award as voted by the Academy Board of Governors as the most outstanding foreign language film released in the United States during 1949. Before we dive into our thoughts, though, we do want to issue a spoiler warning for the film. We're going to be talking about everything that happens in this movie, so if you do want to watch it, or if you haven't already, it's pretty much available everywhere, both on Max, Criterion, and I think on like Tubi and some other services, so you can watch those there, or always rent it on your favorite service. But make sure that you stay tuned to the end of the show to figure out what we're covering next week, because it's going to be a little bit of a different one.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Kevin. So this week was my pick, and this was a really easy one for me to pick. We were looking through the top 250s of Letterboxd and IMDb, and of course I saw this film, and it was one that I have always heard was just an incredible film, and wanted to bring it up on the show. And for the longest time, I believe during the 50s and 60s, this was considered to be one of the best films, if not the best film ever made. There is a Sight and Sound, which is a publication which is for film like directors and people who work in film, and they vote on their favorite films. And for the first, I think, decade or two, they did a poll every year, and Bicycle Thieves was the number one film of film directors and people who work on film, and for the longest time, and I forget what movie ended up dethroning it. It then got pushed to number 6 or 60, somewhere around there, and then got pushed off the list eventually. But has seen somewhat of a resurgence lately with younger cinephiles such as ourselves. So I wanted to pick this movie just because I had not seen it, and it was always towards the top of a lot of people's lists, and that's about it. But before we dive into the film, what are your general thoughts? Because it sounds like this one's going to be a little bit more of an interesting discussion.
It might be interesting, but I will probably have to rewatch it. So because I'm not opposed to rewatching this one, just because I didn't know what I was going to get into. So my score stands as it is today, but it might change on my Letterboxd. So just keep an eye out for that. But I have never heard of this movie before, and I knew it was going to be an old school movie, and but I didn't know it was in a foreign film, and I couldn't tell what foreign language it was because it's in Italy, right?
This is an Italian film, yes.
Yeah, it sounded like Spanish in like some parts of Spanish, because I knew some of like the words, and I was like, oh, this isn't in Spanish though, because then I didn't know any of the words. But it was still we'll have to wait, but you'll see.
Yeah, I think I didn't know what to expect going into this movie. I had never seen it before, obviously, and I want to say that I was extremely pleasantly surprised by this film. As far as I know, it is the first neo-realist film that I've ever seen. I don't want to say this was the first Italian neo-realist film. I'm not up to date on my history of Italian films, but this is kind of like, this genre is supposed to be like a portrait of a place and time, a very grounded and realistic look at a particular location or event or people, and by all intents and purposes, these are usually more political, social, economically focused films to kind of highlight what's going on in the world. So it's I think that like without going in with that expectation, can be probably a little, and maybe it was for you, maybe a little bit off-putting, maybe
Well,
at first.
in your review, when the first like paragraph or something, you say, "Oh, this is after World War II." I didn't know about that. I thought this was just another normal day or anything like that. But after reading your review, now half of the stuff makes sense that
Yes.
it's after World War II, and this is so. That's why I need to rewatch this, because getting my mindset is this is what happens after it. This is the economy after this happens. And me and hopefully, I'm going to say yes, it will go up in score. But with that mindset, I do have to rewatch it.
Sure, and obviously that's one of the biggest things, right? Is any film can change.
Hmm.
Given time, given rewatches, like there's films that I loved when I was in high school that I don't like now,
Hmm.
or there's like maybe a film that I watched last year that I would not rate the same today. Literally, I've been going back and forth on changing my score on Truman Show because of
Mm.
some kind of more thoughts that I've had about the film, giving it a higher score, I should say.
Mm. Hmm.
But like this is one that after watching it the first time, I felt like I understood what the hype was.
Hmm.
And this movie, and I think what's really nice about this movie is that it's a very sincere film. It's not trying to push. And there are going to be some people who may take a political or social message out of this movie. There's been calls of it being a Marxist or a communist film. There's been calls of
Hmm.
it being the other way. Like, I'm not going to comment on that. What it is it's a touching and a sincere film, and a beautiful film, really, tonally and thematically, about what you're willing to do for your loved ones when you are
Yeah.
in such a dire situation.
Hmm.
Um, and what's really nice is that this is in Rome, and you would not be able to tell that this is in Rome because you're not going to the Colosseum. You're not going to these large tourist spots. You're going to the places where people actually live,
Hmm.
and you're not seeing the fantasized, like
Glit-
dramatized parts.
yeah, the glitz and glamour. You get to see
Yeah.
the nitty gritty.
So this is like it's much more of a portrait than it is a kind of like a tour guide, right?
Hmm.
We see the real Rome and its people after World War II, which is obviously devastating because they were a Axis power, so they obviously lost the war
Hmm.
and deposed their own dictator. The story behind him is really fascinating, specifically how he was taken care of. But yeah, it's the way that this film is shot. It feels like they just put a tripod on a street corner and watch
Hmm.
things happen, and it's such a different way of making a film compared to here in the U.S.
Yeah, and I like how it is not a glitz and glamour, pretty much because of what happened beforehand. And the other thing I really liked is the like you were saying, they just put the tripod down and just shot, but it looks like it was like choreographed a little bit. Like you see people walking by when they're going to school or going to work and then coming back, and it's like it's timed perfectly to make it look like it was planned that way. And the way that they shot it during like the building scenes when they're walking through the buildings, it makes you feel like you're being getting a tour of like real Rome, not like the Colosseum. You're getting like I
Not a
want
behind the
to.
scenes look, but like
Hmm.
or like you know, you've been to Rome a couple of times on vacation, and this is the one where you're like, I just want to go out and hang out with people.
Yeah, well, it's like sometimes when you go on tours, you get like the tour guide's like, this is the one that is really good. But then you get the good tour guides where it's like you want to see something real cool that none of these other people know about. I'll take you there. Like kind of tour guides.
Yeah, and what's and for lack of a better term, our tour guide this time
Hmm.
is Antonio,
Hmm.
played wonderfully. I want to say the actor's name, Lamberto Maggiorani. Hope I'm saying that correctly. What's really interesting about his character, and what I had talked about in my review for the film, is that he's not a Hollywood hero. You know,
Mm-mm.
this is not a flawless ubermensch of a human. He's average. He's
Yeah.
the average person. He is the average Joe, for lack of a better term, right? This is one of those movies where you literally, it is designed for you to put yourself in his shoes.
Yeah.
And to kind of think like, what would I do? Like,
Mm-hmm.
would I steal food from my family? Would I steal my bike back? Like,
Yeah.
You have to think about those things when you're in that situation. And particularly what's really strong, what's really cool about this film, and maybe you'll catch it more when you rewatch it, is the fact that like every time that there's something with a crowd or there's a lot of people around, the camera never really focuses on him.
No.
Until after he's emerged from the crowd, or after he has faded into the crowd. Like he's just one of us, which is such a beautiful way of portraying the main character.
Yeah, it's like I like how you said put yourselves in his shoes, because that's literally what I was doing while watching this movie. Especially, can we talk about the end?
Yeah.
Okay, at the end where he goes and steals a bike, it's like he's tried so many times to try to find his bike. Is it just that easy to steal a bike? I should just do it. And I mean, then there's consequences to doing this, but it really made me think, because as soon as his bike got stolen, I was like, okay, well, there goes his job, there goes money, there goes food. They literally sold their linens on their bed, because the wife is a unsung hero of this. Goes, we don't need blankets to stay warm.
We don't
at
need
night.
sheets. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, they're just trying to get through it, to get through a hard time. And those thoughts always popped up in your mind, like, why don't just do it? Why don't steal another bike? Why go to the cops like right now and try to get somebody on it? But it's not that simple. Nowadays maybe it is simple, but back then it was not that simple.
Yeah, and specifically the part when he trades in, or when she trades in the sheets and he gets the bike, and the shot of the guy taking their sheets and just going up the side of that storage thing, just because everyone's had the same idea, is heartbreaking, but also extremely powerful. It at its core, it is a hopeful movie. I feel like that's what I got out of it on this watch. I mean, I could come out of it differently on another watch, but it feels hopeful to me. Like
I do agree with you with the hopeful thing, because at the end of the movie, the guy lets him go for stealing his bike. That gives our main character hope that everything will be all right. Just don't try to steal or do it the easy way. You have to do it the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the shot of his son gripping his hand is fantastic. And again, like, it's like I was saying, it is more of a hopeful movie. The perseverance of the human spirit and the will to act on behalf of your family and loved ones for what's in the best interest of them is extremely, like, that's just a common message. And like, I don't feel like this is a movie that anyone would dismiss. Like, I feel like anyone could watch this movie and get the same message out of it. And it like I don't want to say it's a universal message, but it should be.
Yeah. Well, and then even the kid's doing his part. He works at an oil station or a gas station, and he's all of 5 or something like that.
I just think of the propaganda clips from Starship Troopers from that. Like, I'm doing my part.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what I imagine.
But the kid was willing to make a sacrifice so his family could eat, just like the dad is, because he looked up towards his dad. So that's what I found very interesting. He's literally, the son is his dad, just a smaller version.
And again, a lesser movie would have had the son give up on his dad because he couldn't do anything.
Yep.
But this movie doubles down at the end. The son is there for him, and it's just great. I mentioned like in my review that I can't connect with the parental aspect of this. I've got no intention of having kids. I don't want them, and I don't see like I don't connect with it on that level. But like
Hmm.
the film does an incredible job though of outside of that
Hmm.
for those people like me, you can still root for the guy and know and wish the best for him because he is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Like he is acting in the best interest of not only himself but for his family as well. And I'm just gonna throw it out there. Probably one of the best main characters I've seen in a movie in a while, in
Hmm.
terms of like the most relatable and like you're
Down
rooting
to
for him.
earth. Down to
Yeah,
earth character, because he isn't all glitz and glammy. Oh my gosh, I got a job. Oh, I don't have a bike. It gives you a scenario and he tries to fix it. He goes home to his, or not home, they're walking home, and the wife goes, no, we need a bike. You got a job. We can sacrifice something just for you to get that job. And it feels so real. That's
yeah,
that's why I think we like it, is because yeah, if I get a new job, I have to go there, do an interview. Hopefully, it goes well. And then I have to think about, okay, well, this is like a 30-minute job away. I have to wake up at 7 o'clock, sacrifice some more things, like more sleep time and everything like that. But that's what you were basically like, okay, yeah, you were agreeing with a lot of the things. And even though it sucked for them because they don't have now linens on their bed or anything, but that's the sacrifice they had to make more money.
yeah. It's fantastic. So one question I want to kind of dive into before we kind of wrap things up, and is I know that you had given this initially, at least this movie, a lower score, and
Hmm.
and I'm curious to see, is it because of lack of information that you had about the movie going in, or what kind of held you back? Obviously, I'm not saying why is your opinion suck or anything like that, and that's not what I'm getting for, and I
Yeah.
don't want people to have that opinion, but like,
I don't every time you ask me a question, it's to better my knowledge about the movie. It's not asking me why the hell did you put this way? I need another co-host.
how dare you? No, it's like I'm genuinely curious. Like
Mhm.
what stood out to you? What made you give it the score that you did instead of like maybe a higher one? Or we've talked about the things that you have liked and the things that obviously
Mhm.
that I've noticed about the film too. But like, what are the things that kind of prevented it from a higher score for you?
It was definitely the scenario. I didn't know this was after World War II. I was like, okay,
Didn't even know it
why?
was Italy.
Basically. And but I first time when I was watching it, I was like, wait, why are they so worried about work? I thought this was like I thought this was like a modern, not modern, but like a new a movie that's like, okay, this is work. This is like it gets you straight into it. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. Oh, they don't have a bike. That's kind of weird too. But okay, I'll go along with it. And then when I saw the kid working, I'm like, wow, he's starting them off young, I guess, like stuff like that. So, but then when I read your review, everything just kind of clicked, and I was like, okay, that's why this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. But sometimes I don't like reading the synopsis of a movie because not that it spoils it, but it just does, it gets, sometimes it gets me too prepared for the movie, and then it underachieves a little bit, if that makes sense.
Doesn't live up
So
to expectation.
yeah. Uh-huh. So
Yeah,
it was definitely, I didn't know what time frame this was and when it happened, and so my brain didn't register what was actually happening and why this was a bad thing that it was going to happen. Like I understood like the economic struggles and everything like that because a lot of people back then were poorer than rich. So
well,
him
especially after your country just lost a war.
yeah, but
Yeah,
my perspective, I didn't know that. So I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
we're just we're following a poor family. His bike got stolen. What is he gonna do from there?" So that was like a more like a detective story. I felt like I was like, "So who's the suspect here?" But now understanding that it is a post World War II Italy, it it kind of makes my score already go up because of how much we're talking about it.
And that's the entire point of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Kevin. Well, this was my pick this week, so let's go ahead and have you go first. What was your? This was pre any score changes or rewatch. What is your score and final thoughts?
My final score, as soon as I look it up, because I forgot it already. I'm not prepared. There it is. It is a 65 out of 100. It is going to change because of after all of the talks that we've had in this video. It will change and it will get a rewatch no matter what, because after the information that Garrett put onto his review, I understand a lot more of the movie now, and it will be getting a higher score than this. But I just want to see if I have it. Oh, it's beautifully shot, great movie. And I like how it struggles with his inner demons, because everybody does at some point. Does he take the bike? Does he not? Does he do good? Does he do bad? Does he just confess that this guy stole my bike, but I'm not sure if it's him? And that's the part I really liked, because everybody thinks that way, and it felt like we were him in that scenario.
Yeah, and it's really fitting that you bring up that he is fighting against his demons, right? Because this film has that in common with our last one we covered, Vertigo, with the idea of fighting your inner demons and fighting the battles that we all fight. So it's really, really interesting that we did two of those movies back to back that have a similar theme across the two of them. For me, I gave the film a 99 out of 100. Why it's not 100, I can't tell you. Honestly, I think maybe if we had spent a little bit more time in this movie, a little bit more time in this world, and maybe seen a little bit. But what we do have is absolutely incredible, and I really don't have any major criticisms about it whatsoever. But yeah, 99 out of 100, which equates to a 4.5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. And I cannot wait to watch this again with someone who hasn't seen it before. To see what they think of it. So that's what I'm really excited for. So the question now falls to you. What do you think of Bicycle Thieves if you've seen it? Go ahead and leave those comments down in the description down below, or comment section, not description. You can't fill in the description. Only I can do that.
No, I can do that.
Well, Kevin.
Oh, no, I can't do that. No, I can't.
Well, at some point, Kevin can. But leave it in the comments section down below. And remember to be respectful of one another, because we're all in this together, baby. Next week, we'll be covering the mystery thriller Shutter Island. So make sure to watch it before next week, before we cover it, so you aren't spoiled. Thank you again so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube and everywhere on social media at Real Watchers, REEL Watchers, pretty much everywhere. And we make sure to follow us for our live stream that goes live every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk about movie news, reviews, and so much more. And you have the chance to make us watch a movie of your choice. It comes up on the Wheel of Fate. It's a lot of fun. But as all said and done, thank you again so much for watching. And until next time, make sure to keep your eyes on the screen.